Western settlers created what we think of as the American West. Explorers came and went, soldiers came and went, miners and others came and went, but settlers came to stay. To bring the lives of the settlers into focus, consider the Western land itself, such as Winchester, California.
To think about it was like a movie.
It's a very unique community. The last place you'd expect.
Winchester and its vastness, the boundless plain, and awesome mountain barriers. The Great Plains were a challenge to the Easterners and European immigrants, and the temperate Pacific coast lands were considered the Promised Land. For settlers, the ways of reaching a destination in the frontier country were either wretched ordeals or wondrous adventures. Fortunately, many of these men and women recorded daily events and their thoughts with such picturesque zest that some accounts of westward journeys have elements of great literature within them. At first, they traveled in covered wagons, then by steamboats and stagecoaches. The coming of railroads increased the speed of the journeys, but for the immigrant travelers, there was little in the way of amenities. The saga of the covered wagon migrations to California is a familiar one. The overland immigrations of the 1840s to 1860s were enormously significant for our Western and national history. As long as new country with new hope lay between the settled Missouri and the beckoning Pacific, Americans were going to cross it. This summed up the spirit that created the various immigrant roads or trails. The reasons for heading west were as varied as the men and women the West attracted. Adventure drew some, the promise of fertile land, or the hope of religious freedom impelled others. Very often the motive was gold fever, or the expectation of profitable trade. To give Americans incentive to settle on the western frontier and aid the continuing territorial expansion of the United States during the 1800s, the Homestead Act passed by Congress in 1862 granted 160 acres of federal land to any U.S. citizen. An individual was given ownership of the land for free if that person lived on the land for 5 years and improved the land by building a home and producing a crop. Additionally, the Land Ordinance of 1787 established federal control over public land, and during the 1800s, the government also started selling land to the general public for $1 per acre in 640-acre tracts. That was out of the financial reach of most Americans at the time. Many seeking to establish homesteads or small family farms out west sought economic relief through the policy of preemption. Preemption allowed the individual to settle on land first, improve the property, and then pay for the land later as the land became profitable. As we head north, we approach the Domenigoni Valley that is located south of the community of Winchester. Domenigoni Valley is named for one of its early historic occupants, Angelo Domenigoni. Angelo Domenigoni and Gaudenzo Garbani, both Italian-Swiss immigrants from Cresso, Switzerland, referred to the area as the Swiss Valley. In 1879 and 1880, Angelo and Gaudenzo established their homesteads on public land, which marked the beginning of these two prominent farming families in the Domenigoni Valley. Angelo Domenigoni, rancher, dairyman, grain raiser, and public spirited citizen, who was born in 1851 in Canton, Ticino, Switzerland, immigrated to the United States in 1874. In 1880, he was the first settler in the valley, which bears his name, and where he took up a large tract of 2,500 acres of government land and planted grain, which he cut with the combine harvester of 36 horsepower, and raised 50 head of horses utilized in carting the crops. He was the proprietor of the Helvetia Creamery, located on his ranch, that comprised of 70 cows, producing several thousand pounds of butter each year, found a ready market in Los Angeles. Since 1880, Angelo Domenigoni and his descendants have acquired and managed extensive land holdings in Domenigoni Valley and the surrounding areas. Some lands have been developed into prosperous dry farming, cattle raising, and dairy enterprises, collectively known as Domenigoni Ranch, playing a dominant role in the economic growth of the valley throughout the 20th century. While much of Southern California has been impacted by urban development, the Domenigoni Valley has remained predominantly rural. Ahead of us is the west dam site for the Diamond Valley Lake. The building of the lake consumed portions of two valleys. To the west is Domenigoni Valley, and to the east is Diamond Valley. This is the Domenigoni Brothers Ranch, that portion west of the dam site. It is said more than 500 acres was given up as part of the Diamond Valley Reservoir. In 1880, he applied for a post office, which he named Rock House, and for which he served as postmaster for 2 years. It was also the stagecoach station, a relic of the Butterfield stagecoach days. The Winchester Hotel was relocated to the Domenigoni Ranch to be their home after being cut in half and moved by wagon here about the year 1900. The Garbani homestead was placed on the National Register of Historic Places and is located on the west recreation area of Diamond Valley Lake. The Metropolitan Water District is planning to use the site as an interpretive center to reflect the rich historical agricultural past. These valleys contain farming homesteads producing crops of oats, wheat, hay, and potatoes. The Domenigonis and the Garbanis were located to the west, and east were other families such as the Searles and Batts. Let's take a look back at what it was like in the two valleys before the Diamond Valley Lake was built.